We all have different reasons why someone decides to become an entrepreneur and start their own company. In this case, it was an unjust, unfair salary situation where this female urologist was being paid over $100,000 less than her male cohorts in this male dominated specialty. Well, now she has the last laugh. Not only does she have her own practice, her own thriving medical spa, she also has a very successful e-commerce business. And she's going to share what she describes her torturous road to success. My interview with Dr. Lanna Cheuck on this episode of Bootstrap MD. Hey guys, this is Dr. Mike Luming. Welcome to another edition of Bootstrap MD. Recently, I have been interviewing a lot of the med spa owners, the influencers in this industry. And even if you're not in this industry, maybe you're looking into private practice or setting up your own cash-based practice. What I've been hearing from my listeners is they're really getting a lot out of it. And I think this interview will be well, you could definitely will benefit as well. I've known her off and on for the last few years. We've texted, but this is the first time I'm actually going to be meeting her face to face. She currently owns and operates LC Medical, which is her own med spa located in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. She runs face med spa training in her Manhattan location for professionals, medical professionals who want to learn more about facial aesthetic injections. She's a co-founder of Face Medical Supply, which is an online medical store specializing in the distribution of select equipment and supplies for medical facilities. I know I've ordered from them. She produces content through various online platforms, such as YouTube and Instagram. She's a board-certified urologic surgeon, fellow of the American College of Surgeons, with a holistic approach whose principles intertwine with the body healing itself. She's affiliated with NYC Health and the hospital system. She's got a lot of academics, a lot of credentials, but what I've known, just been texting, he's really cool. And I wanted to get her insight about this kind of crazy world about the medical spa industry. So, Lanna, thank you for joining us on the call today.
Absolutely, Mike. I'm so excited to meet you. Like you said, face to face virtually, because we've known of each other and you always have like these great business pearls. And we have this big Facebook group, right, for physicians that are interested in aesthetics. So it's really nice to see your face and be on your podcast.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that Facebook group. And it's also good to to vent sometimes too when you're dealing with that one patient, or just to get some inspiration about what are some things that we could do, different treatments that we could perform, etc. So let's talk about your journey. You went to medical school and you graduated as a urologic surgeon. Did you start off saying this is the route you want to go to? How did it all work for you?
Yeah, so great question. So I always want to be a urologic surgeon, and I kind of went to med school to become a urologist. And not a lot of people, know about what urology is, but I was exposed to it early on, and so I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. It's super cool. We're able to diagnose all these cancers and all these scopes, and then robotics came about. So it's like cutting edge technology. And that's what I wanted to do. So, I'm a DO, went to school at NICOM, which is New York College of Osteopathic Medicine. And then I got into Brown, right, University, which is typically not DO friendly, but I got into Brown for my urology residency. And then I did 5 years there. And then I did an extra year fellowship in robotics. And so you're thinking, okay, so this person is like super highly trained in like robotic and advanced lap endo, urology. How does she get into aesthetics? And I got to tell you, it's kind of like a torturous road that I've been down. I feel like everything in medicine, and Mike, I'm sure you can, relate as well, right? You kind of find your passion, and then it's okay later on in life to find another passion, right? And so specifically, my story is such that, I started to realize that I was not being valued as my male, counterparts in my program. I'm an academic urologist. I work in a huge hospital system. And what I realized was that I wasn't valued. And how do I realize that, right? So the admin, pay obviously was a big discrepancy. I was paid 6 figures less than my male cohorts.
Oh my
My
goodness.
fellow Mike that I trained in urology, or I helped train in urology for robotics, he was offered $75,000 more than what I was getting paid
Oh,
as a
wow.
starting salary. And then I spoke to my chairman and the administration, and I said, I've been here for 5 years. I work really hard. And let me tell you, when I say I work really hard, I never took a vacation in 5 years. Anytime I thought I would take a vacation, I would stay home. And then there was a patient that needed to be operated on emergently. And guess what? I would come in and operate on that patient, because I thought that that's what this is all about, right?
Right.
And you kind of give up your life for your work and to be a physician, and especially to be a surgical specialist in a male-dominated field like urology. So I went to my chairman and I said, I would like a raise. I've been here for however long and I work really hard, and I'm like probably the top 3 producers, right? Because obviously you got to show them the money. Top 3 producers in my practice.
Clinical procedures. Yep.
Right. And residents love me. I love teaching. And he said to me, well, if you can show me that another institution is willing to pay you more, then maybe I'll match them. Okay. So a few weeks later, I got an offer from another academic institution asking me to be their program director for urology. And that's very big in academics, as you know.
Yeah, sure.
And they were willing to pay me about $175,000 more than what I was getting paid there. And I don't like talking about money, but just to, have people understand, like, we're not just talking about, a couple of dollars here. I mean, listen, we're altruistic. We don't technically care about money, but we need to make a living, and we're all in a lot of debt, right? And to hear that somebody else who you helped train is coming in with more money than what you're being valued at, it kind of like makes you feel a certain type of way. So I showed him, right, my offer letter. And you know what he said? He said, you know what? I don't think I can ever match that. You should just go. You should just go and get a job there. And that's when I realized I was not valued.
Yeah.
At the same time, I had a child, and she was born prematurely because I was operating so much. I was told to go on bed rest, but as physicians, we're terrible patients.
Yes,
And I said, right. And so I said, well, let me just keep working through this. I think I'm okay. But at 30 weeks, I delivered through an emergent C-section, and I bled and everything. And so I was out for a while. I was out for about 6 months, and then coming back into it, I think my perspective changed, And so when you have a child with special needs, because that's what my daughter has, she was born blind, and she's autistic, and she was born a preemie. I think you kind of figure out in life, things that you need to prioritize, and things change. And so I said to myself, if I was ever to be there for my daughter and build something sustainable for her and be financially independent, it's not going to be working, at the hospital, getting paid, a starting salary, basically after 5 years. And there's really nothing to kind of leave behind as like a legacy. Right. And that's when I started thinking about entrepreneurship and what I could do. And so I kind of moved into the field of aesthetics. And I know it's kind of like a long, answer to what you asked, but that's actually how I started. And I'm going to tell you another quick thing, a little bit of juicy gossip, but I asked my chairman if I can do aesthetics on the side, and he said yes. But then as I started to get bigger, right, and people were talking, he told me I had to stop. And I didn't want to stop. So I actually was forced to leave. I was basically forced to resign. And so basically at 8 months pregnant with my second child, I was pretty much fired from the hospital.
As a doctor, I wasn't used to asking for help, especially when it came to subjects outside of medicine. But then I found physiciancoaches.com. In an instant, I found hundreds of experts to help me in all aspects of life. On areas I was afraid to ask: dealing with burnout, starting a side gig, money management, even help with my marriage. And the best part? Nearly all experts are physicians themselves. After reading their profile and a quick chat, I knew I found the right mentor for me. At physiciancoaches.com, help from professional colleagues is just a click away.
Well, there's so much to digest there, but your story is very similar to mine. I was in primary care, had a son who's autistic, and this is I'm a little bit older than you, but this is like the early 2000s when autistic wasn't that vogue. They weren't making TV shows around people with autism.
Didn't really know what it was, and
right. And I was kind of the same thing. I was a yes man, just said yes to everything, and wanted to just reduce my patient hours or my clinical time, and basically was told no, you can't do it. I was like, well, then I need to do something else because you don't have my best interest. So it's not really always about the money. It's about being there for your family, and like, what is this all for? What are we all doing this for? So I commend you for taking a stand and doing that. But yeah, kind of very similar paths.
Thank you. So I didn't realize that about you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the aesthetics. How did you when you really don't think of aesthetics when you're in a urology practice, or maybe how did that actually connect?
Right. So, I mean, we can make genitalia very pretty, but it connected because my father owns a spa in the city, like a regular, non-medical spa. And I just thought, how cool would it be for me to get into it? And not a lot of people know this, but I actually sold Rodan and Fields, which is skincare, right? Yep. And, it's kind of gotten a bad rap and whatever. But what I realized was that if I was passionate about something and I cared about something and other people were passionate and cared, that I felt like I was helping people in that realm. So I'm thinking, well, as a surgeon, right, as a physician surgeon, I'm able to actually do procedures to help people look and feel more confident. It's all about confidence, right? We're doing this because we want to get to the core emotion of why people want to look and feel better about themselves. And a lot of it is confidence. And, I get a lot of people who, this too, coming in after divorce, after breakup, right? After a death in the family, and they just want to feel better about themselves. They just want to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I want to remember what I look like before all this stress and all this, all this sadness. So I think that, what we do, we offer people a lot of that confidence building and make them feel really good and special when they come to see us. And so, it's really all about that. It's like you're being your own entrepreneur. I love talking to people. I love making people happy, probably to my detriment, right? We're like people pleasers, I'm sure. Yep. And so, that's what makes us really good, with our patient care, because they trust us and they trust us to help them look the best possible. So it was really just a kind of like a roundabout way of me saying, you know what, let me get into this a little bit, because I did like the skincare part of it, but I wanted something more because I'm a surgeon. So I like doing things. I like using my hands, and I'm very artistic. And this was the only way that for me, I could still be artistic, give value to patients, and to make a living and to be my own CEO. I mean, that was the most, the best part was like, ooh, I can make my own hours. Little did I know that being your own CEO and having your own business means that you're working 24 hours a day.
That's right.
And you're like, wait, right. I didn't understand this. But it's different. It's different when you work for yourself than when you're working constantly for somebody else, right?
Yeah, and you can still love and hate your boss too. I mean, I do that on a regular basis too, right?
Exactly.
I love hearing, I always like hearing the stories about how you started up your practice. For myself, I self-funded my clinic, and my first practice, I had it where it was over a garage that when it opened, it was such a creaky garage. We would have to wait to take vitals because it was so loud. But rent was cheap, and I was trying to self-fund everything. Do you have any kind of how did you get started with your first practice? Was everything smooth sailing at the beginning, or did you have some growing pains?
Yeah, I feel like no matter where you are at the stage of entrepreneurship, you're always struggling. There's always ups and downs, right? I started out with a very small, almost like a closet size room, and I bought a cool sculpting machine. So big mistake number one is to buy big equipment, right? Without even knowing if you're going to have people come through the door. Luckily, I was in an environment of a spa. People come, they get their massages, they get, their facials and things like that. So, I thought that it would be an easy sell. I don't even need to be there. I'll just put a cool sculpting machine in, and my estheticians will see the patients and bring them in. No,
maybe that's what the rep said. I think the rep said that to you.
Yes, for sure. You just need 100,000 patients and you'll be fine, and that's easy to get. No, it's 5 years later, and we're still just finished paying off the machine because I've been
good for you.
5 years. So Yeah, for sure. I worked, I remember one time, it was like 9 o'clock at night. I had like one patient to see me. I got there, I had my children and, I left the nanny there and I drove all the way downtown, in New York City. And I was living in Harlem at the time. And I just sat there waiting for this patient and just like literally about to cry. Like, why am I here? Waiting for this patient. And the patient didn't show up, by the way. So like my one patient. And let me tell you that when I had 5 patients a week, I was like, I made it. I'm like amazing. Like I have 5 patients this week. I'm like so big, in my mind, I was like, this is what it takes. And in my mind, like having 5 patients to me was a success, which, was like a low barometer, but, that's when I knew things were going to grow. But the real honest truth is, and then I worked at a gym, like, here's the gym and here's a room for me. Right. And it was just me and one other person. We kept it really, really small, didn't do any advertising, no marketing, nothing, all word of mouth. That was it. All word of mouth. And then I grew slowly. And then pandemic hit, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how it was for you, Mike, but when pandemic hit, I took a chance. I had a gamble because I'm in New York City, the hub of COVID and death, right? I'm in a hospital system where there were 4 trucks for, the corpse that, we had no place to put them. So I had a lot of content that I never got out there because I also train. Okay. So I trained 5 years ago. So you may think, okay, let me get this straight. You opened up 5 years ago and you started training 5 years ago. As a surgeon, that's what we do. You learn one, you do one, and you teach one. Right?
You win some, teach one.
Exactly. And I've taught.
But usually not on the same day. I'd get paid for it.
Yeah. I mean, and I taught anatomy in medical school and got a full scholarship. So like I knew my anatomy and I'm very confident in procedurals and using my hands. So that's when pandemic hit, I was like, all right, everyone shut down in New York. We were mandated to shut down. These are elective procedures. I'm sorry, I can't do your Botox. People are dying in the hospital, but I took a gamble and I started posting, Mike. I posted on my Instagram 3 times a day for the whole 3 months plus that we were mandated to close, right? And like the height of COVID, where nobody knows what was going on and everyone thought they were going to die, I posted 3 times a day. And I posted all my aesthetic procedures. And you would think like, that's a gamble because people are dying and they're going to look at you and you're posting about Botox and fillers. And like, what are you doing? People are going to be upset with you because you're being so insensitive. But actually it was the opposite. No. People wanted to see something else that made them happy.
Right. They needed a distraction.
Needed distraction. And the other thing too was everybody was on Zoom. Everybody was on started to go on social media more and they wanted to look good. Filters started to come into play. Everyone's like, they're trying to meet, their mate, like through the Instagram or through these, apps because, they were lonely and they were quarantining and whatnot. And so they wanted to look their best. So when COVID happened and we had to shut down, I actually had a list, like a 3 to 4 month wait list of patients that wanted to book with me. And these are new patients, have never seen me before, but, wanted something for themselves and was begging me to open. And I did not open. But when I opened, that was the start of the floodgates. And that's how I grew during pandemic.
That's great. I like how you did it just like, other owners were saying, hey, woe is me, why did all this happen? But you directed yourself to like saying, hey, what can I do right now that might have an impact? And if it doesn't, then so what? then that's it, right? But you decided to do it and you found out, hey, gradually, through social media, I'm going to start getting a following. So awesome for that you're able to do that. Now, someone listening to this, we've got a few people who I hear from them. They want to start a med spa. They're tired of working in the hospital or want to do something else. And, a Botox somewhere around the world, someone is teaching Botox this weekend, right?
Everyone is teaching Botox. Like I'm glad I got into it like 5 years ago when it was just really, getting off the ground.
So what do you think are the biggest? How long have you had your med spa now? It's been what?
I started out in 2018, so about 5 years.
About 5 years, right?
But I was part-time until last year.
Part-time until last year.
Yes.
So now you're full-time, right?
Yes.
With staff and everything.
Yeah.
What are maybe the 2 or 3 biggest lessons that you've learned since you've had it? I'm sure there's a lot of lessons, but what stand out to you?
So the 3 things, I know you asked about 3 things. Number 1 is get good mentorship and good training. Number 2, like people.
You can't learn this on YouTube. I can just watch it all on YouTube.
Sure, just watch my YouTube channels. Why not?
Yeah, there you go. Lanna's channel, right?
Here's the thing: when people are getting into it, they don't know all the dangers that can happen with this medical procedure. They think it's just fun and games, but it's not. That's why it's great to go to a physician who, has taken all these courses in anatomy and really knows, how to keep people safe. It's the cowboys that are cowboys, are people that don't understand all the danger that can happen with like vascular occlusions and things like that come in. So number 1, you got to get good mentorship and good training. Okay. I did not get good training, to be honest. I took like one of those like high volume and low barrier of entry to get in. These basically a cheaper course, right? Where you don't even get to touch a patient. You don't really get to learn much. You learn some basics, which is fine. That's great. But you're not going to get some hands-on. You're not really going to learn, right? And to really learn, you're going to need to have, a prolonged program and have a mentor to go through everything. So that's number 1. You got to have good mentorship and you got to have good training. Which is why we put together not only hands-on training, but also, cadaver, like an anatomical dissection course, along with the business that goes with it. I think number 2 is like, don't go buy a big machine that's like $250,000. You need to start slow.
Which have a high cost of disposables too.
Exactly. Which you're basically working for the company. It's like you become an employee of the company, you just keep working for the company. But yeah, keep your overhead low. You don't need that much. Number 3, I would say would be, marketing. Now I haven't paid for marketing until recently when I grew my team, but I grew my team from a 1-person show, which was me. And then I had on another person. And now I have a team of like 20 people. So, it's much bigger team. But with bigger teams comes more headaches, but that's how it is when you scale. Right. So I think those are the 3 take-home questions. And then for somebody who's already, someone listening to your podcast, Mike, who's already in it, who's already doing it, what kind of advice can I give them, right? So the one thing that I would say for those kind of, entrepreneurs would be, if you think like a solo small business entrepreneur, right? There's a glass ceiling, right? And you can make good money, but you're always going to be limited because you are one provider and everything's artistic and everybody wants to come to you, right? So if you want to scale and you want to build, you got to, number 1, build a good brand, right? Because brand is what made Kim Kardashian so big, right? You got to build your brand. And then, moving forward, think about ways of how you can scale to big business, right? And not having the founder, right, of the business really be the main operator of the business, meaning the injector, right? You got to get a team of people that are amazing. So you got to get good staff and you got to get your patients to trust your staff so that you can actually run the show and you can scale, whether it's joint ventures, franchising, licensing, whatever you do, you gotta kind of get everything in order, have a good centralized system. You got to have your systems in place before you scale.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Yield Nodes. If you're looking to get into cryptocurrency, but you're scared away by all the volatility, first, I don't blame you. Recently, I discovered a passive income opportunity, which is known as Yield Nodes, which is a profit-sharing program where they are investing in creating nodes, creating servers that can help the blockchain. My returns average about 8 to 10% per month. I'm not a financial advisor. You should do what you feel is important for your money, but if you want to check this out, go to bootstrapmd.com/go/yieldnodes, and I think you'll be really excited about the opportunities that are possible through cryptocurrency. Yeah, 100%. I'm talking with you right now because I have injectors working for me right now. And, SOPs are so important. At the end of the day, it's all about systematizing. If you're spending all the time training and you're the one actually training, we know how tough hiring is and firing can be.
Yeah.
get things in place. So, have the nurse create videos of what she does for the day. And so you don't have to do that. And now you've got some procedures in place. So that's just going to make everything a lot easier. It's not all, roses every day, as we know, but the more that you systematize, it actually will be more attractive to you when you actually do, whether you're going to sell your business, whatever you want to do, expand, it's going to be so much easier when you're building your next location. So what is the plans for you and LC Medical?
Yeah. So right now, what I've been doing is I've been really focused on training for 2023. And the reason is because I really love to train. And our team, so I have a nurse practitioner, a PA, RN, and they all train with me, and it's fun. It's kind of like breaking up the monotony of injecting every day to meet other, like-minded injectors who are flying in from all over just to see your techniques and just to shout at you, right? So one of the things that my, injectors, and I've trained, probably like over 1,000 people by now, but I've trained so many people in the last 5 years, the question always becomes, hey, is there a mentorship program? Is there like a business course? Can I, how can I just shadow you so they can learn the business, how you do your consultation? How do you, get people through the door? How do you make them trust you? How do you build credibility and authority, in your injections? So that's why we came up with our business course with our anatomical dissection course, because as someone who was an anatomist, in medical school, I do think it's really important for everybody to understand, all the potential, complications that you can have just by not knowing your anatomy. And that also gives you more confidence to know that you're doing really well. So we have, this celebrity like dermatologist who created this huge program called the Aesthetic Institute, Skin Institute from Australia. We're flying him in to come and do the cadaver course. He runs cadaver courses all over, Europe, Asia, India, everywhere that you can think of. He's like the guy, and he like teaches all plastic surgeons and dermatologists. We're getting him to come. We've got facial plastic surgeons, microvascular surgeons. We've got myself. We got Dr. Hardik Soni. So we've got, this great team of people to come to talk to kind of teach about all the anatomy that you need to know. We now have these amazing digital courses, everything that you need to know. Mike, I love to show you some of it because it's really amazing. There really is nothing like these digital courses that I've seen before, because it not only integrates like all the didactic stuff, but it shows you models, diagrams, it shows you cadaver, live dissection, live injections, everything in one place, and all the potential complications, listing them out, showing you what to do, and all these protocols, and also with cadaveric dissections as well, so you can kind of see if you're injecting nasolabial folds, what are where's the piriform aperture, like all these things that you don't see on any other digital platform. It's there. So digital platform training programs, business, cadaver, and then also expansion, right? So we have local expansion. We've already expanded into New Jersey. So our, I think the next step is just to really build our teams in regional and, other places.
All right. And come to the West Coast too.
I know, we got to meet. You're in San Diego. So yeah, we got to meet. I think LA is probably like where most of my people are always asking, like, hey, when are you coming to LA? Yeah. But I love San Diego.
Yeah, for sure. So where can they go and find out this information? And also, where can they go and contact you if people are interested in learning more?
Yeah, so www.drlanna.com, spelled out DoctorLanna. Dr. Lanna spelled out is also my Instagram handle, so that you can see a lot of like my befores and afters. So yeah, that's really the two main places. I'm also on TikTok. Do you do TikTok, Mike?
Reluctantly.
I do not know about TikTok. Yes. Here's what I found interesting about TikTok, and I'll just say this really quick. I've hired two like Gen Z, like in their young 20s, really brilliant, right? Girls who work with me on my social media team, my PR team, and they're putting my TikToks together, right? And I don't even understand the language. Like they're telling me these words, and I'm like, what does this even mean? They're like, just go with it. So there are these cute little like videos that we put together, right? And honestly, what I would say is more people look and view my procedures than they do with the cutesy things that I do. So it just goes to show you, be authentic, be you, I'm not like the cutesy TikTok Gen Z, like much older, right? But I show good results, and so I think I'm going to stick to that for now. So yeah.
But it is a traffic source, especially when the Gen Zs of the world, they may be introduced to something cutesy, but then as they're scrolling down, they're going to be some of the things that you can learn. You can actually learn things on TikTok. If you actually
100%.
have the filters correctly and seen with others. So you never know who comes in. They might start with a kind of cutesy dance, and then they end up with a cadaver at the end of their TikTok.
That's true. And I always thought it was the younger generation for TikTok, Mike. But today I was operating. So I actually operated today at the hospital. They had a difficult asked me to come in. But my older, like 60-something-year-old colleague, urologist, knew about me from TikTok. And he was like, I saw you on TikTok. My child's therapist that I had a meeting with today was like, I saw you on TikTok. I'm like, I'm not even on TikTok, really. I'm like, but it's getting there. And it's not just the Gen Z. It's my child's therapist. It's, the 60-year-old surgeon who like doesn't even know how to open a phone, it's amazing.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. I know you're busy. Any last minute thoughts before we end the call today?
Well, I mean, I would just say, from a standpoint of those going to aesthetics has really boomed in the last 10, 20 years. There's no slowing down of the aesthetic field. It's unfortunate that people are burning out of traditional medicine and trying to find other ways. This is just one avenue, right? But we offer coaching, we offer mentorship, we offer hands-on training, online training, business, and we want to create a community. So I'm happy, Mike, to have come on your podcast. And, one day I'll have you come on my podcast when I really start to grow my podcast, just because I really love talking to other like-minded individuals. And you've always been an inspiration because you're so business-minded, and I have a lot to learn from you too. So.
Oh yeah, we can do it. I probably won't join you on TikTok, but you never know. Lanna Cheuck, Dr. Lanna Cheuck, thank you so much. Thank you for your inspiration and your wisdom. And as always, guys, life will give you ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's just about posting 3 times a day on social media to get you started. It's all about keep moving forward.
Absolutely.